Got that really nice. Are we starting now? Oh, sorry, didn't see you there, guys. Yeah, but we didn't. This is the first podcast that we've ever done. And we're using a mic that I think you use maybe because it's Tom's housemate's, probably for his drum set so he can really hear the bass crack. Am I right, Robbie? Or
is that right?
The back crack?
It's the cheapest mic you can get.
Yeah, the cheapest mic you can get.
Yeah. And sad, yeah, we went all out, basically. That's pretty much all we could offer.
Yeah, it's all we have so far. But it'll get better. We promise.
Maybe not. This is fine.
Yeah.
Look, yeah. You don't have to listen. Well, we've got heaps of stuff to talk about because this was so shocking. I don't know, just what a week in politics.
But yeah, firstly, we should probably say why we're doing a podcast and what it's all about.
Yes.
This was the first podcast.
Tom, care to enlighten us? I don't know.
We kind of have, over the past year and a half, realised that every week when videos are written, going through a process of cutting down everything, that there's just way more to say than is said. So we thought it'd be a cool idea to start making a podcast, and if people wanted to listen and hear more about what stuff's about.
Because we're dangerously teetering towards that 15-minute mark that you see most conspiracy theorists use. With a microphone that's worse than the one that you're hearing at the moment now. And it's just a couple of pictures of, okay, look at the Statue of Liberty, right? We just look at the crown at the top. Yeah. Crowns are monarchs, right? Sure.
How many triangles are on that crown?
And a bit of this as well, just so, okay, so what you're seeing here is, and then moving away from the mic too much. And we don't want that to happen.
But it was, also because it was starting out as a vlog kind of thing. So those are naturally really long, and then the nature of the videos changed to be more kind of they should be 5 minutes, and it was just taking way too long to put together a 10-minute long video that is in the same kind of style of a 2-minute video.
Yeah, so you get less vlogs and less better quality on this microphone.
It's essentially us
you get less for less.
Yeah, it's us being lazy. We just don't want to do a long video because it's too much work, so this is an easier way of doing that.
Yeah. Not sorry. Look, well, let's get the big story of the week out of the way, because this is definitely something that nobody expected to happen. What a huge shock that the Queensland election went to Labor, which is obviously, if you haven't looked at the newspapers, Tony Abbott's more important, but we'll talk about this Queensland first, all right? It was a big upset, whatever.
Yeah, no one was expecting for it to happen. It was this was the hardest election ever to win, right? It was
historically never happened, which I still find shocking. I know I already touched on this in the 5-hour broadcast, but what don't you touch on in 5 hours covering state politics? I think Alan Jones even only did 4 1-hour broadcasts in the lead up to it. So
we spent more time than that guy.
Yeah. And we haven't been alive for the 60 years extra that he has. We barely know who Joe Bioki-Peterson is, or even if that is indeed his name.
But to be fair, we only spent probably 2 hours of the 5 hours of our live election coverage talking about anything to do with politics, really.
Yeah. So this is the podcast to make up for that.
Yeah, where we'll actually talk about it.
Sorry. The only thing that I really I don't know anything else about it really, except for that Labor snuck in huge renewal reforms, which this is apparently, because I don't know if you know this, I do know this because I went to the New South Wales Labor caucus meeting where they discuss in between the two sides of the party, which I had no idea existed. I knew that this happened in the Liberal Party. So let me give you a little bit of a breakdown of the two parties, Tom. Are you aware of this?
Kind of, like within the Labor Party or Labor versus Liberal, in terms of the differences between how the parties work.
I don't know how the differences in the parties work either. It's my version of my university degrees. When somebody who did year 11 chemistry looks back at the periodic table and goes, boron, copper.
Do you mean like the right and left faction within the Labor Party?
Yeah.
So the caucus talk between each other, and then they'll work out what their kind of strategy is within the party.
But not to cause any more destabilisation, that is very unstable, what happens in that. The difference between Labor left and Labor right is perfectly summarised in their outward appearance. Labor right, as you would expect, I suppose, in a cartoonish sense, wouldn't think this had happened in real life, dresses up in suits, all of them. It doesn't matter what position you hold in it. You could be some university underling, which they have thousands of them scurrying around helping ministers with little Bluetooths in their ears going, Mr. Peterson would like a coffee. Repeat, Mr. Peterson would like a coffee into one another. This is obviously they're that organised.
Gotta climb the ladder.
Yeah. When you look at Labor left, they're all in tie-dye T-shirts sitting around a table.
No, really?
Yes.
As if it's that extreme, the difference.
Yeah, that is...
That's...
it was not that shocking to me now that I look back on it, but I do remember sitting there at the time thinking that... no, I'm not even shocked then at that point, really. It was
so which faction's the Union faction? The one that's...
Well, everybody in the Labor Party has to join a union at the moment. Bill Shorten's trying to change that.
To be part of the party.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so any corner store worker, like in the Liberal Party, people that used to be car salesmen, they want that quality of person becoming MPs, and that's the brand new revitalisation of the 100-year-old party. Oh yeah.
So when the Labor Party is criticised for being union funded or whatever, is that should that be a kind of yes, of course they're funded by the unions, yes. They are unions.
Yes. Every single election cycle. Did you know a secret that is basically party policy for ever since it was founded?
For a century.
And we're exposing it now.
The
yeah, unions it is in the DNA of it, but Labor right also, because they're way more organised than Labor left is and have the majority. Basically, Labor left sits there, and every time they vote on a policy, say boat people, obviously Labor left would be against them doing offshore processing, but Labor right sees the political reality of when 70% of Australians want that to happen. They're not going to stick there around on principles that they're there to win, damn it.
Is Labor right like the TV producer that's looking at the ratings, and the left is like the director that wants his creative control?
Yes. You're stealing my show, man.
Yeah. But the demo between 18 and 25 just don't want it.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone in a tie-dye T-shirt obviously has way more soul than someone wearing a tie. It's only half of the equation.
So what were they talking about at the caucus meeting?
Well, they were discussing every matter of policy, from immigration to climate change to the economy to industrial relations. It was all... Everything was on the table, but everything gets voted by the right because the right holds 60% of the seats. Another thing that's incredible as well is that you really see the difference between a member of parliament speaking and the head of a union. When the head of a union gets up, they kind of just stand there and go, yo, it ain't fair what happening to the, you got to do something about industrial relations. My people are starving out there. The Labor MP, however... one of them stood up and defended their decision, which Labor left sits there. Basically, Labor left's whole job is to vehemently oppose everything that Labor right gets in, but they can't do anything about it. So all they do is sit there and yell the classic parliamentary shaming call, which is just the word shame, shame twice.
But they never get anything passed. Like they
apparently they make one win every time they have every time they have this annual meeting, they have one win, and that is, again, a strategic economic rationalisation decision of the right that if they do that, then they'll come back just to get that win.
Right,
So
okay,
give them the bare minimum.
And they know that, and they're still happy with that.
Yeah.
Has there ever been like a Labour left like majority, or has it always been?
Well, that's what I was going to originally talk about. I'm glad that you brought me back onto that subject, Tom, because for the first time in Queensland history, Labor left because they had 7 seats left in Parliament, and so they chucked it over to the right, to the left, thinking there was no chance whatsoever of them winning.
So they like snuck in.
Yes,
that's awesome.
And so they've snuck in a lot of very progressive policies that you won't see anywhere, even in really left of centre states like Victoria. They wouldn't dream of getting away with policies
so
like
Queensland's
this.
gone from being Texas to being like the hippie
Austin
capital
in
of the world.
Texas. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Austin, go state.
In
Yeah.
1 week. That's crazy.
It's a pretty amazing upset, isn't it?
So, why did it happen, Jordan? Why did the Liberal Party lose? Obvious reasons.
I remember Ali during the podcast saying that once you get fired by someone, you're kind of pissed off at them for the rest of your life. You could sit there and say, "Oh no bones, it's fine." At parties that you know some kind of vague connection to the person there, and you have to be cordial.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure most people that were fired, that were the nurses, doctors, and firefighters that he axed, if they were in a room with Campbell Newman, they probably would have that icy. Yep, okay.
Yeah, but when you're voting and no one can see, then
yeah.
So it's basically
as soon
like
as they turn around,
his seat of Ashgrove was like really full of like doctors and nurses and teachers, and basically he just like really isolated himself in his own seat.
The academic centre of Queensland, for some bizarre reason, was Campbell Newman's seat as well.
Yeah, the smartest seat, and Campbell Newman was one in that.
Couldn't you imagine the seat with the people that wear the most amount of beanies throughout the year being Campbell Newman's seat?
Yeah, how did he get it to start
But it
with?
wasn't.
How has there been such a radical change? Like, you wouldn't think that, like there hasn't been that much like propaganda necessarily or anything. I guess it's just that like directly losing your job is the only thing that will make you maybe question like a government that has that much of a majority. Right? Like, if you've got only 7 seats, it's like a huge majority. Like, how in one term does it just all flip around so much? Like, it can't be, like, it seems like insane. Even things
what they say is an addition to why he lost, that they're always floating in mainstream media, which means that there must be a kernel of truth to this. People don't like the fact that Campbell Newman was arrogant. But don't you think the best people... I'm not saying Campbell Newman is a great person, but don't you think that's a good trait to have in general for a leader?
Or like a Keating kind of arrogance to
it. Because he knew he was the best. Ain't nobody smoking on what he's smoking on.
But he wasn't, though. That was probably it. Like, he was like clearly like incapable of what he was doing.
But that's aside from the point of whether he was capable or not. It's that trait that people don't like in a leader. But it's perfectly acceptable.
Keating got lost because of it as well, didn't he? Well, not that.
Exactly.
Like, he was kind of seen as being snooty as well, and not like an Aussie.
Don't you think that's all part of the rich tapestry of why Australians hate a politician? Because he knows what he's doing, and he doesn't want to listen to someone who doesn't know what they're doing.
But how shit's
what
that?
a shit leader.
That sucks, though. That's what it comes down to. Like, it wasn't anything that he was doing. It just comes down to, like, them just thinking he was, like, thought too much of himself.
Yeah.
But it couldn't, it's not just that.
Tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah, that's what it's, that's all we think about.
I bet there was a lot of people that said, I'm not voting the LNP one. I'm putting them number 6 because they're me. Don't you reckon that was the reason for not obviously the vast majority of Queenslanders, but that could have been what snuck him over the line, was that I don't like his personality, and I say this is pretty much a Big Brother show that's based on just that, of whether he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
If he was Ben from Big Brother, think about that. If Ben was the Premier of Queensland, he may have won.
Exactly the same, yeah, he probably could have got over the line. It's probably, I reckon it's a bit of a thing of he just made too many enemies. Like, if you get, like, Alan Jones and Clive Palmer and just, like, everybody against you, it's just, like, there's no one to save you. Because his audience would have, his original, like, voter base would have, like, loved Alan Jones, right?
Yes.
And then they're having to choose between, like, their two gods. It's just, like, there isn't... And they're always going to pick Alan Jones.
Yes. Because in terms of gods, Campbell Newman would have been their Poseidon.
But like
the mighty sea warrior that he is, destroying his own habitat out of rage. He is indeed a vengeful god. Zeus, on the other hand, would definitely have to be Alan Jones, especially for rural Australia, which did vote against him in huge droves, and then apparently on the day that he wasn't elected, thought, oh my god, he's actually serious. What he got voted out, I want to do a vote around. Apparently they have massive voters' remorse now because they thought that they voted for him kind of out of protest, voted against him out of protest.
I didn't realise it was actually going to happen.
Yeah.
That's such a weird protest though. Like, I never get that with voting because it is by yourself. Like, it's just such a, you know, like you can't prove that you did either way. It's such a weird way to protest because no one will know what you did. Like,
yeah.
It's just like...
No, I suppose you do big note it into your friends in the... I reckon that's pretty much the only political discussion that people in a pub that houses 200 people would ever have, don't you?
Yeah.
Wouldn't be voting for that bastard Newman, and then next time around it'll be, not voting for that bastard Palaszczuk, whoever is in power.
It's the opposite.
Yeah, they'll just say that.
Yeah.
But they secretly wanted him in, and now, for some just very strange circumstance of events, this was... it was a good butterfly effect, really. For some reason, hippies are in control of Texas now.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's awesome. Did you notice as well how during like the coverage, because we were streaming it through our like live stream, we were playing ABC 24, and that was like our source of like what we thought was happening. And from about like halfway in, it was like a given that Campbell Newman had lost. Like we like called it like hours before, right?
Yeah,
like,
hours before they did. And we were right. The coin flip worked.
And they were saying that like it was like it's over, like at like 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock or something like that. But then on Sky News, they were apparently like even to like the very like dire like last minute, they were like trying to claim like we don't know yet, like it could be hung, like
they pulled a fox.
Yeah, they were trying to.
Not surprising at all, really, if you think about it, because it is the Australian version, but far less clash of a personality. Most commentators on Sky don't have the assertive aggressiveness to control the situation by yelling. Yeah. They prefer the much more subtle approach of sitting there giving them the stink eye until they finish talking. A real, we don't take kindly to your types strategy of verbal parley.
Yeah, and then
did they not call it until 11?
Yeah, well, I think they were. Well, they called it, but they were saying like that it's going to be like a minority government or whatever it is, where like, yeah, like it wasn't like a smashing defeat. It was kind of they were trying to like ease it in, I think.
Yeah, so. In fact, the Australian today, it's very obvious 2 days after the election that they cannot get the seats. But the Australian is still saying, government in question, can the LNP get enough seats from the Katter Party? Yes, technically they can, except for the Katter Party hates their guts and won't. And they're very aware of this, being some of the most respected journalists in the country. I'm pretty sure that they'd have an understanding of what is... I read one statement from the Katter Party, and it's really obvious that they won't because they said they're not going to.
I have like a weird respect for Bob Katter now after your story about him replying to your email.
Why didn't you like him before?
I don't know. Like I'd seen him on Q&A and he just seemed like a bit of an idiot. But like, yeah, but just because he replied to you, it like made him like way more personable and like seemed to be just like a way better dude.
Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm releasing a video soon. I wrote to every National Party member of Parliament in federal politics and Bob Katter about this rural farming initiative, which I'm going to get you guys to write into your local member of Parliament, because why wait until 2070 to pretend that you can pretend to be 70 now? Why don't you just
Write to a member of Parliament?
Yeah. Because there's a reason to it. There's a very good initiative that is not getting the attention that it deserves, and we've all got to chip in.
Yeah, it's called Greening the Desert, and there's going to be a video about it in like a week, so you can wait till then. But yeah, the point is that Jordan wrote to everyone he could, and the only person who responded was Bob Katter, who directly replied to him, which makes you really question like how much work he actually does.
And
but still, he replied, which is the main thing. And that's really cool. And he was really keen on it. And he was like, yeah, man, I'll do what I can. But unfortunately, I can't do much. But, like, still, that's really cool.
And an honest politician as well. How many backbenchers do you think would say that their job is to make Parliament look busy? Yeah. And on top of that, the manners that he has are really nice, colloquial, rural yesteryear. He has that nice barbecue sauce in a man flavour to him. He tastes, it really feels like you could draw a finger down his ear and that's Master Foods, all right. That's what you need. Yeah. This is how he started his email. How's it going, mate? Great. Isn't that amazing that you get that from a member of Parliament? And the dude that wears the cowboy hat.
Yeah, that's the only thing anyone knows about.
We have Yosemite Sam shooting guns in the background when he needs to say something.
Yeah, it so fits his character to reply to you. Like, it's so perfect.
Yeah.
And it's so perfect that he can't do anything. He has no power. He's just this, like, novelty, like, character in, like, the Australian, like, public sphere.
The harmless cowboy.
Yeah. But
to remind people why we still have a man with a cowboy hat on our $10 bill. They still exist.
They're
constant, yeah.
But yeah, all right, let's talk about this whole Tony Abbott thing, which is, like, it was kind of like the catalyst, the Queensland election, just, like, set this off. And now, like, as well as the whole Tony Abbott making Prince Philip a knight, which I haven't even, like, bothered looking into because it just seems so stupid.
Yeah.
It's
Why
like,
does everyone care about that?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's worthy of, like, even speaking about. Like, who cares? Like, it does not matter. As if that is the thing that has pushed everyone over the line.
Pushed it over the edge. That's it, we need a new Prime Minister.
Yeah, like that's...
What, because he awarded a title? He gave that guy basically a golden star that you'd give a year one student.
Yeah.
That was it.
And everyone...
A certificate for having a go.
Yeah. And everyone who cares
he doesn't deserve that. I deserve that.
Yeah.
Maybe everyone's jealous they weren't knighted.
Yeah, but that's why it's stupid. Like, anyone who's, like, pissed off about it is the exact same person who, like, does not believe in having a monarch. Like, like, why do you care at all? Like, I get it, but it's just, like, it's such a...
That title doesn't mean anything to you, man.
Yeah, let him do it. Who cares? It's, like, there's so many more things that he's done which should be, like, reason to, like, be, like, really pissed off, but this is the thing.
I can think of one straight off the bat. Oh... If I may take the words of a repressed Christian 50-year-old woman coming out of church that just stubbed her toe on a brick. Tony Tony Abbott is about to sign the Trans-Pacific Partnership. I don't know if you've seen my video on it because not many people have it, and I don't blame them. I don't understand what's in it either. No one understands what's in this thing. But 600 corporate lawyers and lobbyists are working on this behind closed doors with the world's most powerful people. We're talking the top 20, most of the top G20 economies are currently figuring out how corporations can supersede environmental laws in all of these countries. And if the government in that country says, well, we really don't want you, for instance, poisoning every waterway that we have so you can make a little, I don't know, Buzz Aldrin the musical with ants. That'd poison all the rivers.
So explain what it is. I guess you can just watch the video, but like it's one of those videos where like you need to kind of watch it. Like it's one of the more important ones to watch that no one has watched. Like it seems like it's like pretty important, but it also seems like one of those conspiracy theory videos. It isn't, but like it makes like it sounds so ridiculous. You think it must be like Illuminati kind of stuff, but like it's true. That's how crazy it is.
Yeah, and for that reason, I understand why most people don't even bother signing the petition afterwards, because writing your email into a little space bar and pressing enter seems like a very small... Yeah. It doesn't seem if 500,000 people went out and protested the Gulf War and it still happened anyway, you putting in that email seems very fruitless. And no, it'll work. You got
you have to something.
But the thing is, but you probably can do something about it because most parliamentarians don't even know this is happening. That's how top secret this is. It's pretty much only the Trade Minister and Tony Abbott that are even briefed on this on a daily basis. Most parliamentarians aren't given this. They're given the vote on, should we allow a milk tariff of 0.2%? That's outrageous. That's mostly what they'd be debating, the everyday politician. If you bring that to their attention, though, because they do have to vote on it eventually in the Senate for it to pass, some law about international law, I don't know. They've got to do, so it could technically work, but that's something that's also happening around the same time that everybody's annoyed that Tony Abbott knighted Prince Philip, who probably already was a knight. Why does he even want to be a knight, though? He's a prince, isn't he?
Yeah, I thought it was like a downgrade. Anyway, yeah.
That's two rungs down. If you remember the old chart from year 8 high school.
Feudalism or whatever.
Yeah. He's much closer to being where the pigs are.
Yeah, it's been demoted. Anyway, it's irrelevant. Like, it's just such a nothing point.
In a way, he has offended Prince Philip by swiveling in some kind of swine DNA into him now, by putting him down to that level. So it was a win for you. Why?
Be happy.
Why are you angry about that?
But yeah, like that's like the media reason, or like the reason that most people probably are thinking this is like a thing. But isn't it more that the polls are like, no Prime Minister has ever been more disliked ever, and then put that plus the Queensland election results, which they didn't think that Labor would win that, it makes everyone think, oh, well, actually, maybe these polls are actually a lot worse than we think. And he's not only the most hated Prime Minister ever, but like way worse. Yeah. So then, like, that's kind of freaked out the Liberal Party, and like now they're talking about like leadership change.
What is a leadership change? Is it a figurehead move though? Or does it produces results, doesn't it?
Does it?
When Gillard was ousted, Rudd came in and took a lot of policy movements that were a sharp step to the right, as in he abandoned the carbon tax straight out, said we're going to go to an ETS.
So is that something he can do directly, or is that something that he just kind of, everyone has to follow him because, like, what does the Prime Minister actually have in terms of power? Is it just
the captain's call?
Yeah, so like what does that mean? Like does he doesn't
it
have
means
an
his
extra
decision
vote.
is in caucus they can discuss it, but that's all they can do.
And he has the final word on it.
Yeah.
Right.
When the PM says he wants to go home, he gets to go home.
So who's the
Damn, it feel good to be on top.
Who's like the alternative choices to Abbott? And do you reckon it's going to happen? And when?
Yes, it will definitely happen because he has become... The Liberal Party uses this word a lot for a party that likes to dump a lot of pollution into the environment. Toxic. They've been saying that for weeks before even the election that they've got to do something about him, but this has started to make them put leaks out into the press to see if this could float. But currently the alternatives that they have are the scariest human being I've ever laid eyes on in my life.
Bishop.
Yeah, it looks like her skin is made out of worms. And in every address at the end, she'll say, "And it'll happen to you." And all the worms will look into the camera and sliver like snakes.
Yeah, her eyes are like black. She's fucking scary. So
And
she's
that
the
could
first
be
choice.
that could be our new Prime Minister, Freddy
Then there's
Krueger.
Malcolm Turnbull, who everyone just loves unconditionally.
But why?
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, why is he this guy that, like, everyone, like, I was talking to my girlfriend the other day about it, and she was saying, like, yeah, but, you know, if Malcolm Turnbull gets in, like, I'd love that, you know, like, and I was like, well, what do you actually know about Malcolm Turnbull? Like, why? Like, is it because Triple J just, you know, tend to, like him or something? Or, like, what is this reason that everyone, like, just loves Malcolm Turnbull? And she actually had a pretty good response. She was like, well, Malcolm Turnbull's, you know, like...
To be fair to her.
Yeah, to be fair, she was on the ball on the response. She, yeah, like, it was that, like, he supports gay people and that he supports, you know, like he believes in global warming and blah, blah, blah.
So what?
Which is a plus, like, compared, but,
He
like...
likes gay people and he believes global warming exists.
Like, that should be,
pretty
like,
much all of Labor
yeah.
agrees with that. I
Yeah,
don't
but,
understand
like-
why. Yeah, no, I want him as the Prime Minister. He can do all of those horrible economic decisions that Tony Abbott would have done because he likes gay people. Yeah, that's not a good enough reason to vote for him.
No.
I don't get why.
No,
It's
but if
the
you have to
Triple J
choose
effect,
between-
isn't it? It's
Yeah.
because Triple J thinks he's cool because he's got a winning smile.
I didn't say
They're,
that.
they're really into that there.
Him and Tom Tilley have some feud, apparently. Like, you know, Hack, the afternoon show on Triple J. Like, Malcolm Turnbull and Tom Tilley got into some fight.
Oh, so they don't like him. I was just assuming that they did. So
Well,
I
like-
didn't at all.
Yeah, like, they don't like each other, those two. But that's, again, like, I don't know. You should listen to the recording of it. It's really good. Malcolm Turnbull puts Tom Tilley in his place. Even though I don't really...
Yeah, that is really weird. Even though I don't support him at all, I love watching Malcolm Turnbull shut fools down.
Yeah. How good is that?
It probably is that. He's articulate and suave. He's a better behaved Kanye West.
Yeah, like, what was his
But
response?
then again, now that I think about it, I was just defending Campbell Newman for being arrogant. But when it comes to Malcolm Turnbull, the arrogance.
No, I like his, like, sass that he has. Like, what was his response to Alan Jones that time? Remember, like, Alan Jones was, like, trying to get him to, like, repeat something back at him, and he was like, I will not take dictation lessons from you, Alan. Like, I'm a member of Parliament. Like, it was such a...
You know,
Great.
apparently also, Tony Abbott took him aside after he had that stoush with Alan Jones and said, mate, you can't talk that way to Alan Jones. Are you insane? But Alan Jones, in a classic talking to people who are borderline dementia, which is the vast demographic of his audience. Remember when we were listening to it once and one of the ads came on saying, if you're in need of a 4-frame to get through the door of your house so you can see the sun one last time, come on down to Fatherton's Frames where we're having a sale of just get one.
Yeah, the advertising tells you so much about his audience.
Yeah. He was saying to Malcolm Turnbull, using a metaphor that would suit people that, remember when you could get 2 pounds of candy for 1 penny, that kind of people, that he was saying, you're being really disloyal to your team captain there, Tony Abbott, aren't you, Malcolm? Not calling him the Prime Minister, your team captain, which Tony Abbott has since adopted and uses that a lot because that works apparently to endear him as that. as no. I'm just the head of the All Blacks, but the
state of
Australian
origin,
version
mate.
of that. Probably there's a lot of Australian teams to choose from, which is the only New Zealand one there is.
Yeah, what the hell?
He was talking to Malcolm Turnbull, saying, and if I was the head of the captain, now I used to coach rugby union, and if you were doing that to my head of coach, I'd sack you. That's what I'd do, Malcolm Turnbull. You're talking to Clive Palmer behind his back. That's not loyalty. That's you're being sneaky, aren't you? You're never going to be leader, never. And then Malcolm Turnbull says, the most sensical answer you could possibly say to that, which was, this is not rugby league. Leading the country is not a footy team. You have to get things through Senate, so obviously he has to talk to Clive Palmer because Clive Palmer despises Tony Abbott and, like everybody else, just loves the Malcolm factor.
Yeah, have you noticed, like, just in the last, 5 minutes, we've just gone on about how awesome Malcolm Turnbull is?
Yeah. But we don't like him.
Good,
I'm pretty sure on election day I will be voting one Malcolm Turnbull. We're in his electorate anyway. We probably will walk out going, damn it, that winning smile.
So do you reckon who's the other one? Scott Morrison is the other option.
Yeah. Scott Morrison, who has possibly one of the most damning political records in Australian history.
Yeah, I don't get how he's the third option. It seems like insanity. Why are they doing that?
Because he has a profile. I suppose it's that old Hollywood proverb of any publicity is good publicity, baby. But that can't possibly be good publicity. He has put Australia on the UN Human Rights Watch list. That has never happened before.
Guy. Like, he's the worst one, right? Like,
he's the one that's been accused
of the most controversy of, that's their biggest problem, right? Has been the boat people, which he's been in the middle of. It's just not. It's such a weird thing for that to be the choice.
But who else? What other options do they have apart from Julie Bishop, Malcolm Turnbull?
Turnbull, man.
It's obviously the double, but that's the whole point. Is everybody in the party despises Malcolm Turnbull and is very bitter about the fact that Malcolm Turnbull, before signing up to the Liberal Party, sat there for ages thinking whether he was going to go for Labor or Liberal. Apparently,
really
sided with the Liberal Party because he could get a very safe seat. Because the Liberal Party loved them dollar, man. So they kicked out, in our electorate, they kicked out this guy that's been there for 20 years and served as a great public servant purely because exactly that, this tubic visage of a man coming in, I'm imagining, with those same Cupid wing tips, but because he's a fully grown man, he's not really flying and has about the same effect as a chicken, so he can just jump a little bit longer than most people.
Small yes there.
Yeah. Has the magic hard arrows and shot it into the president of the Liberal Party, and that's why he's there today. And this is all rumour. But and that's the leadership challenge.
That's what we know on that.
All right, let's take off the other one. As a quick side note announcement, Tom, very excited about this. As part of Lonely Kids Club sending us T-shirts every now and then, we divvy up the shirts between ourselves. It's very easy to get a plug on this.
Yeah, they've never given us...
The price is one free shirt, which is what you can get at Hooters on free shirt night, and they shoot it out of a cannon. You didn't even have to shoot it out of a cannon to us, you just had to mail it in an orderly fashion.
Yeah. You're actually wearing one right now, aren't you?
They're really good shirts.
This is the most relaxed sponsorship deal, if you can even call it that we have.
He didn't even ask us to do it.
All he did was he sent a shirt in the mail with a letter that was written in pen that was almost illiterate, and it just said hey,
and
Friendlyjordies.
Heaps of scribbles in it.
It was like a madman's writings, and he was just hey, Friendlyjordies, really love the channel, here's a shirt. And then I had no idea what was happening, and Jordan made a video where 4/5 of the video was an ad for Lonely Kids Club saying how awesome the shirts were, and now he always sends stuff. Yeah, it's awesome. It's the best arrangement.
And we've and as part of that ironclad contract that we have with Lonely Kids Club,
We have to say this.
didn't want to, but our arms are twisted. We've got to get this out, and then we'll go back to talking about politics. But we are going to start, as he also sent us. God, this guy is a man full of surprises. He owns a shirt company, but also sends us secondhand books that he probably owned himself because they still have those year one sippy cup spills all over them of, oh no, my apple juice, I'm going to have to suck it out of the pages now. We've got 2 Choose Your Own Adventure Goosebumps, and the idea is every week we're going to let you choose the scare via Facebook. You're going to write into the comments section because you know how Choose Your Own Adventure works. It's 3 or 4 lines of words that you have to. It'll say you're in a scary, spooky castle, and there's a trap door, and then also on the other side there's just a nice table. Do you want to sit on the table, or do you want to go through the trap door? Go through the trap door of mystery. And usually, if you sit on the table, then it says the table breaks and you broke your neck.
Yeah, you lose. Start again.
Yeah.
Or it'd be like, do you want to go home, or do you want to go down the scary hallway? And then it'll be like, go home, and then like, you go home, you lose, start again. Like it's really like a difficult game to finish. But it's not even a game. It's like it was a really cool idea that never really kicked off. That you should. Yeah.
It is truly the only pure word maze.
yeah. 10 books in one.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're going to.
The point is, do you dare choose this scare? We're going to get Tom to read out a chapter every week of one of these Goosebump books, and on Facebook you're going to vote by either pressing the like button of somebody else, and that counts as it, or saying which option you want to choose for next week. But because I didn't bring it in the car and I live approximately 5 minutes away from Tom, I couldn't be bothered to go back. What we're going to do instead is let you choose which scare you want to be scared by.
Next week, when we remember the book.
Yeah, and we don't even remember the title of the books. All I remember is one has a picture of a bat on it that looks terrifying. And the other one is also, I don't know, it's got a sparkly cover. So which one do you choose? Both of them have sparkly colours. Do you choose the sparkly colour one with the bat, or do you choose the sparkly colour one that
we don't
for
know?
All we know, yeah.
The mystery box.
Yeah, the mystery box book. Mystery box book or bat. Write that up in the Facebook pages, and we'll meet back next week. Okay, go. Break.
Awesome.
Stay tuned. We're going to talk more about more political matters now.
All right. So now, so this is like we did some videos a couple of months ago, maybe only a month ago, on Gough Whitlam when Gough Whitlam died, and basically what happened was Gough Whitlam died, and out of that, Andrew Bolt and Alan Jones basically just like came out kind of attacking Gough Whitlam and trying to like. Just
rewrite history.
Yeah, exactly. So, like,
It was a real classic. Because they outlived their opponent, they got to say what happened in the past.
Yeah.
It was really like reading Julius Caesar's Gallic Wars, because he knew how to write and killed everybody who could disagree with him.
Yeah, what's the thing he said about Carthage, or what was it?
No, yeah. He has quotes in it that are basically to the effect of he refers to himself in third person in the Gallic Wars to begin with. My God. And basically he talks about, and then Julius Caesar, with just a legion and one marching on the way, had to withhold the Gallic fort for 3 nights, being bombarded from side to side. Caesar was too brave to surrender to these foes that had straw shields and bronze spears where we had iron. Took the day and went on to kill 1,000,000 Gauls and enslave a further 1,000,000 after that. And when you're reading it, you're thinking, damn, that's a massive, good on you. That's a huge slaughter. But then when other historians look back on it, they call it for what it is. It was genocide. But it's still known as one of the literary classics of yesteryear. And that's basically what Alan Jones and Andrew Bolt did to Gough Whitlam. And Gough Whitlam's the Gaul.
Yeah, so
Julius Caesar has been taken into two people, so we'll call from now on Andrew Bolt Julius and Alan Jones Julius too. None of them get the last name Caesar.
So yeah, we did 2 videos on this. The first one was on the oil crisis and how like the economy all messed up, and Bolt came out saying that it was Gough Whitlam's fault that the Australian economy was going so poorly, which just wasn't true at all. Is that basically right?
No. That had nothing to do with the reason why everybody always says that the reason why Gough Whitlam was kicked out of office was because the economy was going terribly and he was putting forth budgets that were very... It's the same thing the Liberal Party has been saying since they were founded, that Labor just outspends, goes crazy, takes the nation under a nosedive. But Gough Whitlam has a very good quote for that. He essentially says that it's not because you're a bad government that you get voted out. And Julia Gillard is perfect to attest to this, because if you look at her economic figures, there is nothing wrong with that when you compare it to the savagery of the world's global conditions at the time. Of course you're going to be in a little bit of debt when there is the worst economic conditions since the Great Depression, as was Whitlam until the global financial crisis. The oil crisis of 1973 was okay, if you're lining up for petrol... Can we get that sound effect so I don't have to do it from now on? We'll just record myself and then we'll put a little button on it going doof every time I say it. It'll be the intro music. Where we remix it every week with an Ariana Grande song. We've got... Yeah, when you look at the economic figures for the Arab oil crisis of 73, which was... that has not happened since, that you have had to line up for petrol for half a day like it's bred in the Soviet Union to fill up your car, and when you get to the Bowser they say, okay, you've got quarter tank, you have to go now, but I want a full tank, and stuff measures twice the monies, yes? And by twice I mean 4 times the monies. That's how much the basic commodity which controls all of our economy from the baseline up is... Okay, some environmentalists out there is going to write saying, not true, can't do anything if you don't have water, man. But look, get out of here, you dirty, filthy granola eating kick. Go play hacky sack out in the sun. We're talking economics here. But we're talking about the oil.
The point was, though, that every country was suffering as bad or worse, and we were actually doing fine. And then, Andrew Bolt's coming out and saying that Whitlam was like the cause of this.
Yeah. Went from 22nd worst performing economy in the OECD to the 4th under Whitlam. As soon as Whitlam went out of office, we went from growth of 2.3% a year in the first year that Fraser was in government. And this was after the after the oil crisis had hit. The economy had stabilised. Whitlam had delivered a surplus budget. Fraser got growth down to 0.1%. Unemployment went from 4.6% under Whitlam to 8.6% under Fraser, so it doubled, as it did with Howard as well when he started to get rid of the welfare net. Obviously, unemployment, and as well as with Campbell Newman, it's because not spending giving everything to rich people means that only they can create economic activity. If you give absolutely nothing to the rest of everybody, which is 99% of the population, they can't do shit except for dance for pennies. So that went up, and the inflation rate went from 14% during the oil crisis, which is very low in comparison to the rest of the world. The rest of the world was hovering around 20%, and it went down to about 11% under Fraser, who had no economic woes throughout his entire reign. And interest rates went from 7 under Whitlam to 9.85 under Fraser. Come on, even John Howard, after he was no longer treasurer, went back and admitted that there was a lot of mistakes in the Fraser government, that the economics was all wrong, and then went into government and did exactly the same economics that Fraser did.
But yeah, the reason we're like talking about this is because we've already done a video pretty much exactly on that, but like we just wanted to keep talking about it because we kind of promised that we would, and we've got a lot of messages since asking to talk more about Whitlam. So we thought we'd like just summarize it all.
The last one, and then we'll leave it at that. Oh, surprise, we've got two more. I'm going to talk about another one after that, but let's get this one out of the way. Is that Andrew Bolt was basically the main theme of his article, and Alan Jones and every right-wing commentator on the day of Whitlam's death. They didn't even give him 6 hours. His body was still warm, and they were like, quick, poke him with a stick. The main theme was that he had great dreams for Australia, sure, but he wouldn't let Australians live their dreams. Gough Whitlam gave half of Sydney its sewer system and 25% of Brisbane. Most of Sydney was shitting in a bucket before Whitlam came along. I'm pretty sure that was part of their dreams. That's plastered along India, all along Mumbai, on underneath statues of Mahatma Gandhi. It'll say things. It'll have quotes. Like it was either him or his mum that said, when everybody has a toilet, that's when we will know progress. Australia wasn't even at that stage. We were at India's stage before Gough Whitlam. How is that not helping your dreams? 50,000 families were living in sheds and huts before Gough Whitlam came along in cities. We're not talking about over in the bush. This is just people that your neighbour would be a hobo that's like, my dog's my pillow. That was the world Menzies left. He also they're also claiming that they'll always dismiss that he ended the White Australia policy, which is the one thing that they used to always, everybody on either side always agreed with the facts that Gough Whitlam ended the White Australia policy until his death, and then they had the conceit at that point to start declaring that it was Harold Holt that did it. But the facts of the matter are that Gough Whitlam got rid of all restrictions on anybody's ethnicity coming into Australia. Before that, there was all these little provisos of, unless they were nomadic or primitive in stature. That's a very broad interpretation of what primitive is. Does that mean that if you walk in with a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air t-shirt today, because that was on in the 90s, that's primitive?
Yeah, you're not allowed in. What about the China friendship, relationship? They started questioning that as well, right? Saying that it was like communism, that it was like a bad thing.
I don't understand how they could say that that opening trade relations with China... No, sorry, their massive gripe was that Western Europe had opened up trade relations with China before Gough Whitlam did, and therefore he doesn't deserve any credit for opening up trade relations with China.
Because he didn't see it and he just copied.
Because not even that. This is how simplistic the argument is. Because he didn't do it first. So if you don't get gold, go home. That's their thought on the matter.
So is that true? Did they open relationships first?
Yeah, they did, but who cares? That doesn't mean
anything.
You didn't. That's more damning on Robert Menzies, isn't it? And the Liberal government that was in for 23 years before that, that even though other countries that were aligned with the US, and that was always their excuse that, oh, we can't open it because the Americans aren't doing it, we're staunch allies with it, to the point that Robert Menzies signed a treaty with the US that regardless of what the war was about, even before we knew what the war was about, we had to declare war as soon as the Americans did. As I think it was even Fraser that said it afterwards as well, because Fraser has this great quote on the day of Whitlam's death, because they became good friends after he died. And I love Fraser's voice as well. It's got that real old man of gentry, little Gerber from these two flaps underneath his chin that make everything sound preposterous. Who's got that nice old man, excellent gentry voice. Even he admits that it was Gough Whitlam that made Australia Australia, that we are not a plaything for another country. We're an independent country with our own mind and our own heart. And this is his biggest enemy. That they became the best of friends. What a
great ending.
So awesome that they took heed to the morals of Arthur and patched their differences aside to make a better Australia for all. But they, even he admits that the international policy that was currently under Robert Menzies was that of a lapdog. It was not. We were a colony when nobody else. Most countries had fought for their independence by that point. Bloody wars are going on, massive, huge hunger strikes. Everybody around the country, they were all withdrawing, and Australia was begging to be somebody's little toy that they could play around with, just this little Beast Wars action figure that they could go, now you're Britain, and it flips into America. Amazing. That's nobody that is Andrew Bolt or Alan Jones agrees that him opening up relations with China was a bad thing. Even Tony Abbott in his own speech was saying that was an incredible economic decision, as that has generated, along with his opening up of all these other Asian countries that Robert Menzies wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole because they didn't have British hats on when they talked to him, and wigs. That's $33 billion of trade a year that we now owe thanks to Gough Whitlam. On top of all the mining that Gough Whitlam wanted to start wanted to make mining national in Australia as opposed to making it an international. Now we have corporations taking 80% of our wealth. Had Gough Whitlam had it his way and stayed in for just one more year, we would have had a completely nationalised mining system where we would have been getting the $127 million in profits that it makes annually. $127 billion in profits that we would have been getting a year. Instead, we're getting a couple of tens of billions, and all the rest of it's going overseas. There is no foundation to say that he was not forming an Australia that would have given Australians their dream with that much excess money flooded into our coffers from the time that in the 70s, from then till now, all of that money would have been ours. There is no justification whatsoever that they have for saying that he is anything but the best Prime Minister that we've ever had.
Do you think anyone listened to them though? Like, do you think that was just kind of, they had to kind of do that?
You should have seen the comments at the bottom. Hundreds of people going, bang on, he was the worst Prime Minister we ever had until Rudd and Gillard. Can you like my comment, Bolt, please?
Shout out, please.
They are the political version of Curse's audience, aren't they? Every second person on Andrew Bolt's articles is basically saying, oi, can you just say my name once? Or no, my postcode. Say my postcode, man.
All right, sure. Let's quickly talk about things that are coming up in the future for Geordies.
Yes, exciting times.
So firstly, we're making T-shirts that you might have noticed on the Facebook page. We made a post about that. So we're looking for like shirt designs because we need to try and find some way of helping ourselves out financially. So. Yep, so we're making shirts. So yeah, we're looking for like anyone that like can use Photoshop or like make those memes or whatever. Just like send in any designs that you think would be cool, and if we like your design, we'll send you that shirt for free. So yeah, it's a little competition. And the other thing that we're setting up is a Patreon account, which is it's kind of like Kickstarter, but instead it's more for like content creators that make things consistently, where you can like give like $1 a month, and it's like Kickstarter basically, but like
a mixture of Kickstarter, Foxtel, and busking online.
yeah So we're starting that up, and
more that in your head, eh?
But we're kind of hoping to see if like people would be like keen to like do that.
Essentially a much better worded phrase, and we'll simplify it for anybody who doesn't get what we're getting at. Got any spare change, man?
Yeah, it's that, basically. Just online.
So that is very exciting. We are begging you for money.
And that's partly as well. Like the main reason we're doing this is because we want to start doing this podcast every week. And to do that, we need to be able to pay Robbie, our sound producer dude, to help do that. Robbie?
Hello?
Said hello.
And you'll
nervously.
be hearing plenty more of that if you get donations into us. In fact, if you donate $10, I don't even know if we're going to do that. I really don't want to do that part of the Patreon. When you look at everybody else who's asking for money on patreon.com, there's all these, if you give us $1, then we're going to follow you on Twitter. And if you give us $1,000, well, you're just the best guy ever. But having said that, we'll do both of those things.
Yeah, we haven't really worked out like a structure for that yet, but we will, and it will be. I don't know, we'll work something out.
Yeah.
But so I guess we'll be back next week, and what are we talking about then? Do we know?
No, the only thing that's really penciled in is the Goosebumps You Choose the Scare, and we don't even know what that one is because that's up to you guys. So you basically have to do the only piece of work that we've even thought of for the next podcast.
So yeah, all right, cool. Well, that was fun.
It's been fun and nice having your company.
All right, thanks for
All right,
listening.
Robbie, we're getting a bit of feedback on the microphone. Just turn it off there, mate.